Hey there, Internet. We are live with this week's office hours, coming to you live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. So, as we get going here, throw your comments into the chat. If there are questions in the chat, we'll start answering some questions for you here. Getting my lights set up and turned on. Coming hot from another meeting, so just trying to get my bearings here. So, happy Wednesday, Internet. It's 4:31 Central Time, Wednesday, February 16th. This is Codalation's office hours. So waiting for a few people to start connecting. Looks like here they come. All right. All right, we are getting our lights turned on here. See if we can get our magic going. There we go. All right. So I built these bookshelves in the back here this last summer, and trying to get podcasting set up a little bit better. So I did some LED lights underneath that can change, and some other kind of neat things. Hey, Maddie, thanks for joining this Wednesday. So we got a couple people coming in here. All right. So Codalation office hours, we hold these every Wednesday at 4:30 Central Time. And the reason we hold these is entrepreneurship is scary, and a lot of times you don't know what to do. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know what steps to make. And so we're here just as a company to help you think through things, be a sounding board, a little bit of advice here. The advice is worth what you pay for it. So keep that in mind. But, we've been a business, we're going on 13 or 14 years this year. I'm getting my old age. I can't remember stuff anymore. So we're here just to help, let you know what we've learned, kind of lessons going through. If you're not familiar with Codalation, we are a custom web and software development shop, primarily focused on early stage companies that are trying to take an idea into their paying customers. So we help out with the app development, some marketing, some promotions, business planning, all sorts of different stuff along your journey as an entrepreneur. So let's go ahead and throw some comments, some questions into our chat. Not seeing any stream in yet, so see if we can get some questions coming in and we can help answer them. All right, I got a question on Facebook. Fun question for you first. Did any Super Bowl commercials catch your eye this past Sunday? Marketing dollars at work. Yeah, there's a lot of money spent. And I think everyone heard, the cost for a Super Bowl spot is $7 million and up. What I think a lot of people don't know is that you have to spend another 20 or 30 million throughout the year just to have the opportunity to buy a Super Bowl ad. So there's lots of money there. I thought the most creative commercial was the QR code that just bounced around. I think it was Coinbase that did that. And just to have the intestinal fortitude to spend that much money on a QR code bouncing around with nothing else, I give it to Coinbase on that one. That was, I don't know if I'd have the stomach to spend that much money on the hopes that somebody takes out their phone. But from what I've heard, everyone took out their phone and tried to figure out what it was. Eric asked the question on Facebook: how do you find time to take a break as a business owner? And he said, boo, the QR code was awful. And Eric, it was not as pretty as Arnold as Zeus or whatever it was, but I think from a marketing perspective, they got their production value out of it. So taking time to take a break as a business owner, it's really building processes in your team. You need to be able to trust people or trust a process. A mentor of mine a while back, said the goal of business is to create a transaction, which is really the sale and enough money and energy to get to make another transaction. So you need a system or a team that can really run with that. So as a lead comes in, who's handling the lead? What system is happening with it? Is it an automated response? Is there a human touch that's needed? Like all those steps along from a lead to a sale to doing the work, selling the good, there's so much to it, and you really need to be able to have a replicatable system in place, and most likely a team that can take all those things, so that you as the owner can either step into a rainmaker position of just really sales and thought leadership, or move into that owner role and put the management team in place, and you're not running the day-to-day of the business anymore. Maddie says on Facebook, I like the QR code commercial myself. It definitely did what was intended. I would like to see their site stats on how many visits they got that day. A lot. We had a client that was featured on Good Morning America a couple of times, and we had to put up a lot of static landing pages and different things to help capture that traffic, because it hit like that and it spiked, hundreds of thousands of people trying to go on and get those deals. So I can't imagine what the Super Bowl would be like. So definitely need some hardware behind that. So thanks, Maddie and Eric, for the couple questions. If you have questions, comments, anything here on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, certainly throw them into the chat and we'll get them answered here. I have a question that comes in from YouTube. What are your thoughts around what are your thoughts around crowdfunding your idea, particularly on platforms like GoFundMe, Indiegogo, and Kickstarter? I think people think it's easier than it is with a lot of things, and crowdfunding platforms are no exception to that. I think where crowdfunding platforms win is, are you the right team to do it? Like, have you proven you can build the thing? So like the Oatmeal put out, was it Angry Kittens, or some of those card games? They had done that before. They had teamed up with people that had produced, and it led to trust and authority that it's going to get done. So, do you have success in the space that you're trying to sell into? And, probably even more important than that is, can you put on a good promotional video, a good explanation as to what it is? Do people really care about it? I remember I bought one that seemed like a good idea, but by the time it got actually into the market, which was like a year after they said it was, there's so many better alternatives in the market. So, you're taking a risk on them performing as well. Question from Facebook: what is the tipping point for you to hire out a service versus do it yourself as a small business? It's different points along the way when you're growing as an entrepreneur, as a business, but really it's the mantra of margin. Can I go do something that's going to make the company or myself $50 an hour, and then start getting rid of the $10 an hour tasks and put a processor system around it? Can I hire somebody on Upwork to go do it? So it's creating margin. And I found that whether it's a personal relationship or business, you need to be able to create margin, so that you have some safe space to lean back into, and you're not always pushed to the edge all the time. Like if you've got $50 an hour coming in and $50 an hour going out, like, you don't have a business, you've got a hobby. So how can you keep leveling yourself up as an entrepreneur and as a company to charge more for the value we're providing, and to pay out the tasks, like cleaning out your email or bookkeeping, or simple things that you can outsource fairly cheaply and continue to focus on bigger value for your customer base. Another one from Facebook comes in: how do I determine what features are most important for my product when I'm just starting out? When you're first starting out, you shouldn't care about features. You're getting too prescriptive with how you're doing it. You should figure out what the problem is you're trying to solve. From there, your audience is going to tell you what features you need to be building. You may have a good idea of this already because you're dog fooding the product, meaning you're building something for yourself. But for the most part, if you skip over the problem you're trying to solve and focus on the features, you're going to end up with a bunch of shiny things that may not ultimately have value. Facebook brings in another question: where do you suggest going to find people to do some of those services part-time? That's a good question. We've done some to when we did an ebook, and I wanted to have custom illustrations in there. And I didn't have the budget for some of our great local artists to be able to come in and do those. And so I went to Fiverr and I had said, here's 4 sample chapters that I want to have illustrations for. I'm going to give you the title, the title of the chapter, and then also a brief summary of what's going to be in there. And I want you to draw something for me. And so I probably took, 100, $200 on these different tests. And some people that I thought were going to be a slam dunk gave me a logo, asked me what size my logo needed to be. And it was a good example of, can I create a system to where I can just hand this over and find out who understands what we're trying to do? And so we ended up finding a really great artist in Brazil. He, for I want to say $50 an illustration, would come in and hand draw it and say, "Is this right?" And it was like every time he nailed it. And then he brought it into a design program, Photoshop or something else, and made it just gorgeous. And so Fiverr is a great place to go. Upwork is another one that we've had really good luck with, of finding both local-ish talent. So like we've had developers we found on Upwork. For us, it was finding people that, English, the primary language, because they're working on, project stuff with us, and then similar time zones. So like our majority of our day will overlap. And you can get some great searches in there. You can post jobs, things like that. So I would take a look at one of those platforms to start out with, because when you're just trying to figure it out, sometimes you don't know everything and you don't have the process in place. So try to work your process through something that's relatively inexpensive. You don't want to go hire somebody full time to do your bookkeeping when you need 5 hours a week because you just have a checking account. Can you go on Upwork and find somebody that you can pay to reconcile your books, your bank transactions, statements, things like that? And just pay for what you need. So it's a good way to kind of get your feet wet, because as you grow, that bookkeeper may need to be a full-time person, but now you've learned the lingo, the terminology, what should you be doing? There's also a lot of great local businesses here in the Fargo area that will do kind of a fractional CFO, fractional bookkeeper for you. So if you're looking to go all in on some of those professional services, reach out to us. We've got some great partners we've worked with. If it's more of I don't know what I need, but I need something in the design space, or I need help with some marketing, try out one of those Upwork or something. You can put a cap on the project size, only allow them to do about 5 hours a week, excuse me, or something like that. So a couple good resources to try out. I apologize. Been chatting all afternoon. My voice is starting to go here. YouTube brings us the question: has any interesting tech or startup news caught your eye recently? Well, we have a friend down in Sioux Falls that they just announced, I believe it's Homegrown Capital, just announced a $17 million raise for their fund, which is really exciting. There's not a whole lot of angel or seed round investments here in the North Dakota, South Dakota area. So it's always great to see when great entrepreneurs, his name is Matt Paulson, runs a company called Market Beat out of Sioux Falls. That was really exciting to see that come to fruition. Just being able to have more access to capital is always great. So that's something that just came out, the last 30 days, I want to say. Yeah, really, really great news. Happy for them, and hoping more follow suit. What is something from a business book you have actually implemented in business? Oh boy, Facebook. You know how to talk to me when you start asking about books. We talked about these ones before, but the 5 Temptations of a CEO was a good one to be able to help lean in and know that conflict is not always, as Norwegian North Dakotans up here, conflict can be healthy. It can be beneficial. So people know really where they're at, and not just assuming everything's hunky-dory and okay. The Dream Manager was great to go through. It's been helpful for me to start planning. We've implemented a little bit of the essence of the Dream Manager at Codilation. A book called Profit First. It's somewhere behind me. was a really great one, from 6 to 7 figures. That was Austin Nesley, if I'm pronouncing his name right. That was really big about systems and processes and how you need to be able to scale. Take the example of, you want to grow from $100,000 business to $1 million business. You just need to be doing more of what you're currently doing. So why not put systems and processes and people in place to help you scale to that next level? But it needs to be replicatable. So those are a couple things, Eric, on Facebook that we've done here at Codalation. Another question from Facebook comes in: would you recommend an entrepreneur to join an incubator or accelerator? And what is the difference between the two? It depends. And I've got some friends that hear that way too often when they ask questions. It depends on what you're looking for. So the difference between them is an incubator or accelerator. An accelerator is typically going to come in and ask an equity stake within the company, and they're going to introduce them to their internal services, legal, marketing, and other mentors. They'll typically give them some money. So like Techstars is a good example of an accelerator. You come in, you apply, you get accepted. They're trying to accelerate your trajectory as a company. An incubator is more of the physical space, to where you come in and say, I need an office. I want to be around other entrepreneurs. So our office is at an incubator here in Fargo. And we get to be around a lot of other entrepreneurs and startups that are trying to figure it all out. Plus, we also have great resources. So like the North Dakota Small Business, SBDC, Small Business Development Center, some grant programs are based out of the building. And it's just a great way to have social collision, so that, once a month we get together as founders and say, what are you struggling with? What do you need help with? And kind of rising tides raise all ships. So it really depends on what you're looking for and what you're willing to give up to be part of one of those. Is how I'd answer that question. Facebook asked the question: who is your small business hero and who is your small business nemesis? Oh boy, that is a good question. I feel like I have a doppelganger, not really my nemesis. But there's a gentleman here in Fargo by the name of Josh Boucher, and I feel like we look enough alike to where he's my doppelganger. He's not my nemesis. I don't really know Josh at all, but definitely a doppelganger there. Who is your small business hero? I think there's a lot of people in business that just put their head down and go to work, and it's not about raising the money or the fame or anything else. And I think there's a lot of really great entrepreneurs. I'm gonna give you my generic non-answer on this. There's a lot of really great local entrepreneurs that I look up to, that they've been able to go in and they're just really good operators and get the work done. Some of them have sold the businesses and made good returns on their investment. There's just a lot of them out there that you don't know about it until you hear it in the papers or something else. And sometimes that never hits the papers, never get any public recognition. So I think those people that are just really good operators and can see something from start to finish are ones that always have a special place in my heart. Facebook, we had a question from YouTube here that I was not, can't quite figure out what they're looking for. So if that's you, Leonora, if you could put that question back in on YouTube. Another YouTube comes out, and are there any hotspots you've heard of popping up for tech? Any new Silicon Valleys? Austin, has been something that's been growing since the 90s. I think that's where Dell was at, and lots of good exits when Dell went public, and a lot of money got around, the South by Southwest pieces down there. I think that's Austin. I might have that mixed up with another city. I'm really impressed the little bit of traveling I've done and how special Fargo is. Sioux Falls definitely has some startup activity going with, like I said, with the new angel fund, the new seed fund going up down there. I'm going to say come check out Fargo. If anybody is not from Fargo, we'll buy a cup of coffee, a pizza. Come check it out. Probably not right now in February because it's going to get cold. And Maddie says, yes, Austin hosts South by Southwest. So thank you for reassuring me that I'm not losing all my marbles here, Maddie. I know that Des Moines, if I'm just kind of working my way south, Des Moines, Iowa has a lot of fintech and insurance related startups and businesses. I think Omaha is similar. They've got some startup scene happening there. There's weird little pockets too. If you've got a great marketing mind like Russell Bronson out in Boise, Idaho, and his company ClickFunnels, I believe. So you've got these little pockets that probably not a lot of people have heard of, but making a huge impact in technology and startups. Question from Facebook comes in. Do you have any recommendations to find angel funds in the Midwest? I would take a look at, there's some resources out there, and I'm spacing on the names, but they're basically like a directory site for investment companies, and they'll help you understand of where they invest. A good place to go is Crunchbase for that, now that I'm thinking about it. You can go research, what have they invested in. You might need to get their pro account, which can cost you a few bucks a month. But you can go find out what deals has this firm done? What have they invested in? Is it going to be complementary to what you're trying to do? How comfortable are they cutting $100,000 versus $1 million check? That would help you get pointed in the right direction. And one thing I would challenge, I think a lot of people think I just need the money to get it done. Challenge that thought of what can you do if you don't have the money? Because once you have an equity partner and maybe you move a little too quickly and it's not the right alignment for an equity partner, and they've got maybe a little too much power because you took too much money from them, they end up replacing you as a CEO. There's lots of weird stuff that can happen. So just really slow down, take your time, make sure you need the money. Money, like an investment like this, should be to pour onto it's gas on the fire, making everything bigger and better. So make sure you're ready for it would be my first comment, and then research. You want to talk with just as many people as you can before doing it. Find those entrepreneurs that have either invested or that have received investment, and what's the pros, what's the cons. I've never taken outside investment. We've bootstrapped, we've done it through credit cards, loans, things like that. So I probably wouldn't have the most knowledge in this, but I'm sure somebody in your network has done it before. So just talk to them and get a feel for it too. All right. YouTube asks, what questions do you recommend asking potential dev partners while shopping around? You need to ask them all the questions. You need to be 100% comfortable with that relationship, because if you're building a product, you're putting a lot of money into them. You're putting a lot of trust into them. You want to know how their process goes. Like at Codalation, we do a discovery phase, and then we do project work, and then we do change orders throughout that. I can throw a ton of jargon at you, but know if you have the appetite to go into something and get a general estimate that's going to cost you $100,000, and it could go up, it could go down. It's probably going to go up, and knowing you've got the capital there. So are you looking for somebody that can help support it after the fact? What should you be thinking about in terms of support? How much money does that cost? Think about marketing. How does marketing and sales lean into as you're going through the development pipeline? How much work is going to be on my plate as in our world, we call it the product owner. How much is the product owner going to have to take on versus how much does the dev shop do? Do we do an estimate and discovery phase, and then you just go away for 3 months and then hand me the product when it's done? How do you do design? When can I give input? Just ask any possible question. And it may seem like you're being a little too over the top, but this is a big deal, and they should be able to answer any of those questions for you confidently. And if they can't, talk to a few other people, because you don't want to make an assumption and go into a project and then realize like, oh, this didn't work like I thought it would, or we didn't talk about this in the right way. it's a big monetary commitment, but also a relationship and trust. Facebook asks, and we were going until 5 Central, so we got 4 minutes here. So if you have other questions, go ahead and toss them in. Facebook asks, what should I have prepared for the bank if I'm looking to get a business loan? That's going to depend upon what size the loan is. So some banks will come in and they'll give you a line or a loan of $50,000 to $100,000 if you've been with the bank for a certain period of time and your credit score is good enough. So sometimes they'll just take a punt on that. Other times they want to see a full business plan. They want to see projections. They want to see revenue. Sometimes you can go in and have an asset collateralize a loan, meaning that, if I went to the bank right now, I could take where I'm sitting right now in my house and say, I'm willing to put a second mortgage on this, or you have a second position on my house, meaning that the bank with the original mortgage has first, but is there enough appreciation or equity, there we go, equity in the home that the bank would be comfortable writing, a check for, that if I defaulted, they would have claim to the second position of the house. So I would just ask them, because it really depends on, go back to the it depends statement, right? It really depends on what you're looking to do and who your banking partners are. Sometimes you don't know what to ask for. And I've sat down with my bank and they go, well, tell us when you'd like to learn more about our services. And sometimes I just flip it back around and say, tell me how you can help me, and have them start asking the questions. And we've uncovered some, neat project funding opportunities that didn't exist before, and kind of non-conventional ways to look at things. So again, just have a lot of conversations with the banks, but be prepared to have your personal financial statements ready, a couple of years taxes, business plan. Like, sometimes they're going to look for a lot, and sometimes they're just going to say, here's this little sum of 50 grand, and we trust that you're going to repay it. So it depends. All right, we've got 2 minutes left before the top of the hour. So if we have any final questions, go ahead and throw them into the chat. Otherwise, we will be doing these every Wednesday for the foreseeable future from 4:30 to 5 Central Time. I will be doing my voice exercises to see if I can get my voice back here and stop sounding like I'm sick or under the weather. So yeah, I don't see any other questions or comments coming in. So I think we're going to close that for today. So thank you, everyone. If you know an entrepreneur or a startup that's looking for our advice, have them join our office hours on Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube every Wednesday from 4:30 to 5 Central Time. Hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your week, and we'll see you next week.